Alrighty. So you turn the TV on basically in your mind, and you see a bluish planet floating in space. And then you see it fast forward or zoom all the way in through clouds and whatnot, and you see a large continent, which I don't think you've ever really seen the shape of it or seen anything close to it. But then it zooms in really, really quick again, and you come into what looks like a map of sorts. And on this map, I will share it with you now. You see the Sword Coast, and your eyes get drawn to an arrow on the map. You see that? Or is it still loading?
No, I see it.
Okay. This is where the camera angle zooms in and zooms in, and then you kind of see the map burn a hole in the center of it, and you start to see trees and forests, and you hear birds chirping and peace and quiet, and the camera zooms in, and you see a furball laying in the back of a cart with sunlight shining through the creaks and cracks of the wagon that you're in. And what does this person look like?
So, the Furbolg is roughly 6.5 feet tall, with very like shock white fur, or like very short, like bristled hair all over their body. More like an albino.
Okay.
They're covered in just a swath of woven vines that have been turned into like a fashionable, like not necessarily armor, but you know, um, coat, and a skirt made of traveler spurs, things that were picked up and just thrown together. Um, no, no real discernible features aside from um, the big goofy grin and the short mop of like salt and peppered hair on top of their head.
All right. Well, you wake up and you can smell the fruits of your labors, as you have different herbs and mushrooms and stuff that are in the back of the cart with you. And you've been in the southwest part of the Weathercoat forest. You've been checking on your little hidden spots where you've planted herbs and flowers that are basically native to the forest that you're in. But instead of running all over the forest and whatnot to go and collect everything, you figured, hey, why not just bring everything to you? So you started finding these small little hidey holes in nature itself, sort of thing, where the climate kind of fits. And you've been planting like rows of different herbs and spices, and also you have a small cave that's close by that is where you've planted a lot of different mushroom species, and you've been basically having your own little farming community. Your plan was to come here and gather up these expensive herbs and spices, and you are going to be taking them to Parnast because you know that this is the time of year when you're probably going to get top value for your labors. This is the time of the year where the traders from the east will bring their stuff to Parnast and sell them to people from the west. And Parnast has kind of been a halfway point in some, form of the imagination where they can bring the west coast to the east and the east to the west, sort of thing. And you're going to get top value for your stuff because you're going to have the most amount of buyers all looking for similar items. So you can basically charge what you want because it's going to drive the price up. You've been in here for a little over a week now, and this isn't what you want to do for the rest of your life. You want to be the storekeep. You want to have your own store eventually. You want to be able to learn how to make more difficult potions, like greater healing potions and fire protection potions. But your people that you've been selling to, and they won't teach you, and they keep kind of using you to get what they want and kind of have been just kind of leading you along. But this time you tell yourself it's going to be different because you've got more spices and herbs and ingredients than you've ever had before. And they keep telling you, well, you got to start at the basics. You gotta know what something is and know what its value is and know how it's growing, and before you're ever going to be able to know how to create anything. And you're exhausted. It's been long and it's been a tiring process. Mainly trying to keep the nature to stay away from your collection and let them have their own collection. So you've been gathering berries and apples and everything else and trying to basically make feeding troughs so they stay away from your farms, so to speak. And since you've been in the forest, there's one thing that's been a little bit concerning to you, is that you've started to find within the past, I'd probably say the past 2 or 3 days, you've been finding animals, mainly birds, and they are dead, but it's like all the moisture in their body has basically been drained out of them. There's no puncture marks on them. There's no poisons or anything that you can detect with your skills. And you don't know why it's happening, but you have been kind of being a little bit more concerned and not really understanding why it's happening, because you've never ever heard of it before. Like, animals will die eventually, yes, but this is like 2 birds, and then you go through another part of a clearing and you might find 5 birds and a squirrel, and they all pretty much have the same symptoms, so to speak. So you climb into your cart and take a big whiff of the fresh outdoors and stuff like that. And the idea was to just have a quick nap, and then you're going to head over to the caves to see if your latest crops of mushrooms are ready to be picked right now. So you head along your way, and you've probably been traveling for about, 10 minutes or so, and you notice another, looks like bird, on the path. And this is just before the main clearing What would you like to do?
Oh, the poor thing. Um, I will reach for some spare like burlap sheets that I might have to hold like my fungus and everything, and just
Mm-hmm.
try and like scoop it up on the wagon until I can find a better place to put it, so that way I can just put whatever remains of it in my farm, so that way it may break down and be reused.
Okay. Give me a perception check.
All right.
9. Okay. As you're bending down and reaching towards the bird, um, you know that just ahead of you on the path there's a clearing, and there is a flash of light, almost like somebody you didn't actually see it, but you out of the corner of your eye, it's almost like the sun catching a certain wave inside of a creek and flashing light towards you. Um,
Like a just a little glint of something just caught
yeah,
my eye.
like somebody flashed a mirror and the mirror caught the angle of the sun just at the right angle, sort of thing, and it flashed in your eye.
Yeah.
But it was a lot bigger. It would be a large mirror that it would have to do something like that. And it came towards the clearing.
I will finish picking up the bird and placing it on my cart, and then head forward to investigate.
Okay. So you're just gonna walk down the path?
Yeah, I'll walk away from my cart, or just briefly.
Okay. So you leave your cart on the path and you start walking a little bit further away. And you, as you're kind of coming up a slight little incline, you can see the hood of somebody that looks like they're sitting in the field or kneeling in the field. Like you just kind of catch the top of their head.
Okay. Uh, hello?
You don't see any movement from the head at all. You continue kind of walking up a little bit, and you see a hooded figure sitting on the ground, or kneeling. It's hard to tell, but the cloak is kind of crumpled up in behind them. Give me another perception check. Oh, okay. You see a few things. One, you see standing in front of this person sitting or kneeling, a another person standing in front of them, and they're moving their hands, making gestures and whatnot, and you hear and then you see the hands move again, and you hear kind of muffled whispers and whatnot. And then you see the black figure kind of take 2 or 3 steps backwards, put their hands together in the shape. One hand makes a shape of like an O, and the other one makes a shape of like 3 fingers facing towards the sky, with their thumb and their pinky finger tucked towards their chest. And they kind of bow their head a little bit, and then turn and walk into like out of the clearing and into the forest on the other side.
Curious. Don't normally see many people this deep in the woods. Um,
You're still probably
uh,
close to 100 feet or more away from them, or away from the one person now.
yeah. I will walk back just a little bit and grab my cart and pull it forward with me.
Hmm.
Until I reach the individual and crouch down next to him.
As you start making your way towards the figure, you get probably about 30 or 40 feet away from them, and there's a few things that catch your eye. Um, Laying in the field in kind of a random pattern, you see what looks to be like clothing in different piles, and you see some arrows sticking out of the ground. As you start walking towards the figure.
All right. I will begin approaching very cautiously, and just uh, like I'm like trying to peek around a corner, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like trying to just get like a slight glimpse and see if like this man was probably like skewered with arrows, or you know, if uh if I just witnessed like someone's last rites.
Okay. Um, you you can't see like in front of their chest or in like you're at their back, obviously, and you see a flash of light and a gold light, and then you see this figure raise their hand up, and you see a bird um, stand up from the palm of their hand, and he turns his hand over, or they turn their hands over, and they um, put their hand kind of on an edge, and you see the bird sit on the edge of the finger, and the bird is kind of like turning its head and looking and chirping every once in a while, sort of thing, and then flutters and flies right past you and lands on your cart, looks at you for a second, and then flies away. And
Now,
you,
did that bird just magically appear?
it was kind of like you kind of got the feeling that it was in the palm of his hand, and then it jumped to its feet, and then basically flew over towards you, and then flew away.
Okay.
And then a few seconds later, you see another bird, fly and land. Could be the same bird. Fly and land on its shoulder, this person's shoulder, and then the bird turns back and kind of twerks its head towards you, sort of thing, and then flies away. And you hear a voice. The voice says, "Ah, yes. So many questions are racing through your mind. How did he know I was here? Who is this? What happened? Where did he learn to heal, nay, resurrect that bird? How did he do that? So what will it be? Let me get you started. I knew you were there because the bird just told me."
No. You said this is in my mind?
You heard the voice out loud. It's
Oh,
not.
okay.
They haven't turned to face you. They just started speaking out loud, loud enough that you can hear that.
Uh, sir, I'm confused. Did you say you healed the bird?
Ah, that's the question you're going to start with.
Well, with everything I've come across in here, I guess that would be my first starting point.
Hmm. Um, you see the figure throw something up into the air, like probably like 10 feet up into the air. What do you do?
Alright. Watch.
You watch it go up in the air?
Yep.
Okay. As you see this glinting object fly straight up into the air, out of the corner of your eye, you see the figure turn around and, in one fluid motion, notches an arrow and is standing there in front of you. And that's what they look like.
Um, okay. Um, I mean you no harm. Um, was just collecting some herbs, and some shrooms in these woods. Um, you can go ahead and lower that.
They never did raise the bow any further up than what it's at right now. For our people that are following along at home, there is a green hooded figure who has some leather pieces of armors and braces and kind of knee high leather boots. They have a bow, nice looking bow, nothing crazy fancy. Could be elvish. They have long white hair blowing out from underneath the hood, and their eyes are almost a light blue or maybe a green color, and they're almost glowing. If it was dark, you'd swear they would be seen in the dark. And as you're standing there and you're looking still at this object coming back down, you see the figure um, allow the arrow to come back to a resting point, and being held with his left hand holding the bow and the arrow, holds out his other hand and catches the item that was tossed into the air. So, I see that you see. So I was right.
uh, right about what?
Right about a great many things. And then you see him. You see him kind of drop the bow, like the arrow kind of drops to the ground, and you see the bow kind of drop to the ground. And with that hand, he puts it over the center of his chest. So he coughs a bit. Um. So
You have a cough? I could probably remedy you something in my cart.
I wish it was that easy. You have a kind heart. Not too many. It's besides the point. He says, you, you've seen that. You've seen the bird flying, and you've probably seen a yellow light. Yep, that bird was basically like the bird that you just picked up not too long ago.
You mean in withered to just flesh and bone?
Yes, resting. Let me guess, friend. Does it bring you comfort when I say darkness?
May I ask the context?
Hmm.
Like the darkness of night? Uh,
No.
the darkness when my eyes are closed? Uh,
Yes.
like sleep?
Do you sleep?
I believe we all do.
Most creatures do sleep, but I don't think you truly have ever slept. You close your eyes, but then you awake. And as he's talking to you about this, he's holding in his right hand that object that he tossed into the air. And you can see this bracelet. And he's kind of twirling it in his hand, and he's talking to you. His other hand is kind of holding his chest, and you see him kind of look down and pull his hand away from his chest. There's no blood, but you see uh, a hole about the size of a fist.
Um, sorry, sir. Um, don't mean to alarm you, but you might want to get that looked at.
Uh, I don't need to look at it. I know what it means, but there's something more important than that. See, I came here looking for you.
Wait, how did you know I'd be here?
Mm. He puts down his pack, and he pulls out a well, he didn't pull off his pack. His pack was kind of sitting on the ground in front of him, and you never seen it because he was bent down in front of it. And he goes over and he opens it up with his free hand, and he reaches into the pack and he pulls out a painter's frame, like a canvas. And as he pulls it out, he's got his back to you, and he kind of looks at it, and he kind of then stands back and he looks in to the forest in behind him or in front of him, sort of thing. And then he turns around and he says, I don't know how you're going to take this, but please don't be frightened. It's not magic, it's sight. And with that, he turns the canvas as he's staring at you. He turns the canvas around and he shows it to you. And it's a painting of him talking to you with your cart in this field. And it's like, if there was such a thing, it would be almost like a paint, like a portrait or a photo.
Where? Wh- ho- I have so many questions.
Yep, he says.
Um, uh, firstly, do I really look like that?
Yes,
Ah,
yes, you do.
I gotta stop eating so many shrooms. Uh, did you? How did you come across this painting
Hmm.
or image? Uh,
He kind of goes down to one knee and he's kind of lets the painting rest in the knee-high grass. Um, I don't come across paintings, he says. I only draw what I see. See,
oh, you?
I am a Maori.
Uh, I beg your pardon.
Hmm. Um, painter. A painter of sights. It sounds so simple when I put it in your language. I don't have much time here. And you kind of see him look at his chest again, and the hole's gotten a little bit larger. Um, I'm just gonna be frank with you. I was sent here to find you, to find others like you.
I see.
You are Voldish. I am Venderush. I live my life to serve. I have been sent to find you, to bring back the last Voldish. I have almost succeeded. You are living your life here, and he kind of looks around, trying to become something that others joke about. You you show great potential. And he reaches into his pouch and pulls out some mushrooms, and you recognize them immediately. they were they're not from right around here, but they are if you know about the cave. They are quite delicious. And you are
Oh, what? I'm delicious.
the mushrooms he's holding on to.
Uh,
You you are a Mulwery, and you are not meant to be here. You were placed here. You were protected here, and now you are needed elsewhere. You have to choose if this is what you wish to continue doing, or do you wish to know your true purpose? You know you're
Um,
different because of the way that you rest is not like the others. Up until this morning, you probably felt hollow and empty and incomplete. But this morning, you felt different. Am I right?
uh, I don't know how you know that.
Hmm.
Have you been following me?
No. This is your Vacnic. It happens to every Voldish.
Well, I
If
got
you
confused. You keep saying these words, and I have no idea what you're talking about.
if I use your language, it'll be like me calling that a stick with green things. And he points towards a tree. It's hollow, it's empty when you say it in the language of these lands. I just need to know if you are going to choose this future or, and he holds out his hand with the bracelet in it. He goes, this future. And you see him look down at his chest. And you can almost, it's gotten to be about the size of a cantaloupe.
That's not good.
You notice as he coughs and chokes a little bit, sort of thing, you notice he has this necklace that hangs around his neck. It's a, in the center of it is a small orb, almost like a marble, but a slammer, like a larger marble.
Yeah.
And inside of it is maybe 2 or 3 little things that you might want to call like a firefly, but they're way smaller.
Um. Uh. The instinct to want to help someone. Like I reach into my cart and I pull out like my water skin
Hmm.
and I approach the man. Um. Please. Um. Let me let me look you over. Have something to drink. Uh. uh there's a lot going on right now, and I'm trying to grasp it.
It's there's nothing you can do for me. I, I'm at the end of my Amish. I Let me put it this way. You carry a bird in your possession. Am I correct?
Um. Yeah. Yeah. I was going to feed it to my farms.
Hmm. What if I could say that I could teach you to bring it back to what it once was?
Um. That kind of feels like a crime against nature, but I'm listening.
No, it's. I understand your simplistic thoughts, but it, these creatures would not have perished or fallen asleep if it wasn't for the Hinduswish. They should not be here, but they're here because they're looking for the Voldish for use. Not that you're Voldish yet, but you haven't gone through your backnick yet.
Who is looking for me? Is it the dark cloaked individual who was here a little bit ago that
No.
did this and I like do that little hand gesture that she did or they did?
You kind of see a little smirk. No. Arya, they are here as a protector, a guide for us Vanderush.
You're saying like Vanderlush. Is that your name? What can I
No,
call you? What?
it doesn't matter what you call me. It's this, and he kind of gestures towards his body. This was once it was almost, this Hingros was used to be Kelric. And he served well, even this time around. I need you to decide if you wish to move ahead or stay here. I can't force you to do anything.
Well, as an entrepreneur, I'm always looking to move forward. But that gaping hole in your chest looks very bad. Why don't I take you to town on the edge of the forest and get you to a cleric?
You see the creature that's calling himself Kelric, and he basically turns to you. His eyes are fading a little bit. They're not as vibrant maybe as they once were earlier in this day. And he holds out that bracelet in his hand, and he says, "Do you wish to join your family, or shall I find another?"
Sir, I don't know my family. But I put my hand on the bracelet that he's handing me, as if trying to grasp his to help walk him to my cart. Try and shuffle him along. Like, come on.
And as you take his hand, take the bracelet sort of thing, he grips you and kind of pulls you close to his face. I won't make it to your town. And if Arya can do nothing for me, then I have come to my end for this time. Please,
What is it I can do for you?
choose what you want to do in the time that you have. I can teach you. Do you have the bird?
Uh, yes. It's I continue dragging him towards the cart, or like shuffling him along until I can pick up the dead bird. I scoop it up in my hands.
He says, if you wish to know the truth is in the bracelet.
Uh, I'll hold the bracelet in my hand and just look at it.
As you look at it, you notice that the bracelet is, as you look at the fluidity of the colors, it is almost like a fluid, but it's like if there was some way of trapping a rainbow into a bracelet, they did. And the craftsmanship on this is far greater than any elven or dwarven craftsmanship. Like, it is of a material that is quite, it looks like a dark metal, but it could be a stone from the earth. You're not quite sure. And as you spin the kind of bracelet around to look at it, it's almost like the rainbow is flowing or moving inside of this bracelet in some way, shape, or form. Like, you can't really put your hand on it. You don't really feel a lot of magic or sense that it is magical, but it would have to be some sort of magic that would be able to cause the... It's not really light that's refracting off it. It's not like, oil on water kind of thing, but it's like it's almost alive inside the bracelet.
Okay.
You
Well, this is a
before
strange looking.
before you said you had no family.
I'm on my own
Mm.
out here, trying to make a name for myself, make a living, so I can have my own shop, build up my own sort of renown as a great, you know, herbalist and potion maker.
Those goals are so... never mind. I'm trying to tell you, you are part of a family. That you do have a family. The answers are in the palm of your hand.
Oh, are you okay? Never mind. Don't answer that question. Um,
Do you
are you
wish to
talking about
learn?
in the bird or the bracelet?
You could say that the answer's in both.
All right. What did you say your name was again? Kelric? Uh, Keelik?
Kelrick.
All right. Um, you've piqued my interest. For someone of your condition. Um, I'll indulge uh your antics. Teach me, sure. Show me what's the thing, and if I'm not impressed, take you back to town and do something. All
Well, put the bracelet on and we'll begin to teach.
right. Starts to fit her hand through the opening and slip it onto her wrist.
As you put it onto your wrist, um, you the forest gets quiet. You can still hear the birds chirping. You can still hear the forest noises and stuff. But you can start to hear a distant humming, my best way to describe it. And as you kind of look around your surroundings, you can hear it coming from the west. As you kind of turn your head and try to triangulate, try to figure out where the sound is exactly coming from, you see nothing in that direction. Maybe you were expecting to see Arya, but there's nothing there. It's kind of like it's coming from on the other side of the forest. There's no words, but you think there are words, but you're just so far away that you can't hear them.
I try to take the bracelet back off.
The bracelet doesn't come back off.
Um, do you hear that?
You hear...
Oh, wasn't there a moment ago?
You hear the voltage, don't you? You probably don't hear it complete. You hear echoes of it. Let me guess, it's coming from the west. I would imagine about now.
Yes. Yeah, I believe that is correct. Is this humming gonna always be happening?
You will hear it. It'll make more sense as you progress in your Vecnic. You need to find your family. Now, this bird. Take the bird. Hold it in your hand. He lets go of your hand.
Okay. Cup my hands over the bird.
And you can feel its light, lifeless, frail body sitting in the palm of your hand. He says, now concentrate. Listen to the humming. Listen to the forest. close your eyes and you feel it. You feel something like his hand resting on your shoulder, and then you feel his other hand resting on your other shoulder, and then you feel something push against your forehead. Do you look?
I crouch down in case I'm a little too tall for this guy.
Okay.
Uh, I'll keep my eyes closed.
You feel warmth in your hand, and you feel a little bit of movement maybe, but you're not quite sure. And then you hear his voice say, "Picture what this bird looks like. Look around. Do you see the light?"
I believe that's the sun, sir.
You know, it is a light, but it is not the sun. It is Ona. Open your eyes.
They open.
And you watch as your hands kind of shrivel up like you've been in the water for a long period of time. And you watch the hollow, empty bird kind of absorb a light, a golden light. And then you start to see it fill out and fluff out, and then you see it kind of shake in your hands, and you see an eye open, and it's looking at you.
Okay. Hi, little bird. This feels weird. I open my hands and trying to let it, give it room to move.
It just sits there and looks at you. And as your eyes kind of focus off of it and look towards the Calric, you notice he's not touching you. He's sitting on the ground, kind of kneeling.
I look at my shoulders. Do I still feel like there's something touching me?
No, not anymore. But when you opened your eyes, you felt like there was something there. You were thinking all along it was Calric.
Is there anybody else with us?
Give me a perception check.
It's like, did she come back?
You, with a natural 20, look completely around, and there is, beyond a shadow of doubt, nobody else around with you.
And the forest is still like pretty quiet, aside from like just birds chirping.
Yeah.
And the hum.
And he says to you, "Go look in the pack one more time."
look into your satchel.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I um I approach his bag.
Uh,
Uh, I hand him the bird.
he doesn't take it. The bird just flies away.
Oh, that works. All right. I open his bag and what am I looking for?
The only thing that's in the bag is a canvas and something in the very bottom of the bag.
All right, so I'll pull the canvas out. Is it the same one that I saw earlier?
No, that's sitting on the ground. You walk past it on the way to the pack.
Oh. All right. Um, can I investigate the canvas?
You turn the canvas over and you see a green cloak laying on the ground, and you see what looks like dandelion fluff coming out from underneath it and floating in the air, blowing on the breeze.
And does the cloak look similar to his?
Very similar to his. And in the background
Oh,
of it, there's your cart.
all right. We'll have to talk about this in a moment. And I reach for what's at the bottom.
You reach for what's in the bottom and you pull out like a quill.
Kelrick, is this what you wanted?
And as you turn around, you look towards him and you see the cloak starting to fall to the ground. And you see, best described as kind of like fluff, dandelion fluff, floating on the breeze past your cart and spreading out amongst the field.
I look back at the canvas. Should have saw that coming. I will pick up his the two paintings. Put them back in his bag. Pick up his green cloak. And sort of like throw it over my shoulders.
As you do that, you see the necklace laying on the ground.
Oh, probably don't want to forget that either. And I'll grab the chain.
You grab the chain and you lift it up. Give me an investigation check.
Oh boy.
You notice that the center of it is cracked.
Well, I'll just tuck this in with his things.
There's no more little light or anything like that on it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I put the necklace into his bag.
Okay. Give me a perception check when you do that.
Sure. Oh boy.
You notice some writing, but it isn't a language I don't think you'd understand. There's symbols and stuff, but
there's some peculiar etching that I just sort of overlook. Just drop it in.
Okay.
I just start carrying it back to my cart.
Okay. You carry it back to the cart and you put the pack onto your cart. Mm-hmm. And you look over and there's two birds sitting on the edge of your cart.
Hello, little guys. I don't really have anything for birds. Oh, I've got some berries probably. Start shuffling through my belongings and toss them a couple dried berries.
You see them take the berries and they almost turn to you and I give me a wisdom check, I guess.
Sure. Uh, oh no.
Yeah, they kind of do something weird, but maybe it was just a bird thing and they take the berries. As you turn around with your cart and you start kind of leaning on it, you look over at the edge of the woods and there is that black hooded figure standing on the edge.
I gesture to the green cloak and wave.
As you wave, the figure kind of makes a quick hand motion, and they were probably close to, I don't know, 60, 80 feet, maybe 100 feet away from you. And they start walking towards you. And with that one quick movement of their hands, all of a sudden they're about 10 feet in front of you and they're walking towards you.
So he turned into like cotton fluff and drifted into the air. I think he mentioned your name. Uh, Arya? Is that it?
The figure doesn't say anything. The figure just stares at you. There's no face. There's no eyes. You don't see anything.
I put one hand in like an O and then the three fingers with my thumb and pinky tucked towards me.
And as you do that, it mirrors that. And then you see it put its hand out towards you, open palm.
I reach back into his backpack and grab the necklace and place it in her hand.
She takes the necklace and she puts it over top of her heart and then slides it into her pouch. She kind of bows her head and she makes the same symbol towards you again. But this time she raises her hands up over top of her head, and as she does, she draws a kind of imaginary circle, like she draws it from the 12 o'clock point of the air above her head. And as one hand goes past the 1 o'clock position, the other hand goes past the 11 o'clock position, eventually they make down to the 6 o'clock position. And as they do, you see a golden circle, almost like when you're playing with a hot stick on a midnight night and you're kind of waving it around in the air, and you can see kind of the trail of the light. And she does this in one quick motion, and you see this golden circle appear behind her. And then she takes both of her hands, brings them up to her chest, one in the shape of an O and one with the shape of three fingers. She bows her head and takes one step backwards and steps into the circle, and then the circle kind of erases itself as fast as it drew itself, and she disappears, and you're standing in the field alone. No
Uh,
sound during the entire process.
yeah. I close my eyes, curious. I mirror her movements as best as I can. Do the, hold it above my head at the 12 o'clock and try and make a perfect circle around me, or in front of me. And then I open my eyes.
And you're still standing in the middle of the field.
Is there any golden rings anywhere? I'm looking around.
Nope, there's no golden rings anywhere.
Well, that was an encounter. I turn to look at my cart. Are the birds still perched there?
No, birds are no longer there.
Hmm. Well, I reach back into my cart and drink some of my water skin, and sort of sit on the edge of my cart, just sort of in thought, trying to just collect the bits and pieces that have just occurred. And I'm like, I'm not crazy, am I? Have I ate too many mushrooms?
You look down at everything that's in your cart. You can see the edges of the canvases sticking out. You can see the paint on it. You look down at the ground around you, and you see these other old, like, worn out cloaks laying in the field. There must be like 6 or 7 of them there. You see a bow and 1 arrow laying there on the ground. You see maybe some hints of the fluff kind of hanging on to the tops of some of the tall grass in the field. The one thing that's steady and true is the humming that you hear coming from the west. You hear thoughts going through your head talking about what he was saying about family and about being a mullery.
I grab my cart, start walking westward.
Okay. As you start walking, you sit and as you're walking along sort of thing and hearing the humming you want to say in your mind, but it's in the distance, but it's clear. You feel complete. You don't feel that going to become a herbalist sort of thing, to become a creator of magical and health treatments is really that important as it once was. You still would like to know how to do things like that, but give me a perception check.
I'm rolling great.
On brand. You rolled a 10. Just let everybody else know. You look down at your wrist and it feels warm to you. And you look at the bracelet again and the bracelet isn't on your wrist anymore. But you now see a different pattern. The same rainbow colors and whatnot, but it's almost like a tattoo on your skin. But it still has that same fluid motion. Like as you move your wrist around and look at it, you notice that it is still has the same aspects to it, like the same look as it once did when it was in its bracelet form. When you follow the pattern, it's different than what it was on the bracelet. It's formed a different pattern, almost like a Celtic knot. But as you follow it around your wrist, you look at the underside of your wrist and you can see a small gap from where the bracelet once began to where it has ended. There's like 2 or 3 millimeters of space. And they don't touch at all. And you kind of maybe think in the back of your mind the reason why they don't touch is because the patterns don't start and end the same way.
Strange. I'll have to look into this later. Still continue westward,
Okay?
just following the hums.
So as you continue to walk, you start to realize that there is a hum that is louder, that is close to you, but it's almost like there's an echo because you can hear another hum behind it, but slightly off in one direction. It's almost like there are 2 hums.
I'll take a quick glance around my vicinity, trying to suss out the source of like the louder hum.
You can't see anything. Like if, for instance, if you were looking through a field, for instance, you would hear a hum directly ahead of you, but then you would hear another hum slightly quieter, but kind of about 10 degrees to the right of it. You continue to walk. You walk for, I'd probably say a good 3 or 4 hours. And you feel like you just feel like you need to kind of stop and eat something.
Start munching on some dry oats and berries.
You look towards the pack and you see the writing on the outside, these symbols, a language you've never seen before. And for some reason you kind of look at the canvas sticking out of the top of the bag and kind of starts to make you wonder, how did How did they do that? How did he do that? The painting is like a, if there was such a thing, a photo. Like, it is so lifelike in its realism.
I'll take the painting out of the bag and just sort of stop there to admire it while I eat.
Mm-hmm.
The one where it shows like his cloak dropping to into the field, and
Mm-hmm.
like what like dandelion fluff like drifting off into the air. I'll just start like running my fingers like over the painting.
You realize that when you look at the painting, and you give me an investigation check with advantage.
— 14.
14. You get your nose almost right up to the canvas, and you said it was a painting, but when you look really, really close at it, it's just a bunch of tiny little dots of different colors. And when you hold the painting further away from you, it looks super, super realistic. But then if you look, like, there's no brush strokes, there's no pen strokes, there's no motions, there's no paint, there's no nothing. But if you look at just like one tiny little corner of it, there's got to be like 80 some dots in an area that is like 4 millimeters by 5 millimeters sort of thing, and the dots are just varying shades of color, it looks like.
Someone has a printer.
Yeah.
This is remarkable. I've never seen anything quite so detailed. Huh.
As you pulled the canvases out of the bag kind of folded down, and you can see the edge of the quill that was at the bottom of the bag sitting there.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I'll take the quill out. And looking over like the canvases again, I'm like, the silly guy forgot to sign these, and I'll just write his name.
As you pick up the pen, as you pick up the quill in your hands, you feel it warm to your fingertips. And as you run your other hand up the shaft of the quill, you feel like there's something in the feather.
I'll flip one of the canvases over.
As you flip the canvas over, you notice that there are like tacks holding down a parchment, like it's holding down the canvas. But as you look at the back of one of them, you realize that it's not just one, but there's like multiple pieces of canvas and this is just the top coat.
Can I try and pluck off some of or can I try and peel off the first layer?
So as you kind of pull you realize if you pull one of the pins up, sort of thing, you realize that there's other fabric or other canvases underneath or in behind it. So as you kind of pull off like 3 or 4 pins, you kind of pull it back, and there's probably about 3 canvases underneath it.
Hmm. I'll keep removing some pins.
Okay, as you start pulling the pins out all the way around this, kind of an old, like oak, or it doesn't feel like oak. It's lighter than oak, but it's sturdy, like oak,
Walnut.
but not quite sure what it is. The material, it's light, but as you pull the pins out, you feel the canvases are not really stuck together, but they've been pressed together for so long that they're kind of all sticking to each other.
I'll try and carefully just separate them. Just start.
As you separate the top canvas of the picture of you and Kelric standing in the field, underneath it you see another painting, or what we'll just call it painting because you really don't know what it's called. Pointy paintings, I don't know. There must be a style, but you're not familiar with what it's called. And as you lift it off, you see a picture of a river flowing, a wide river, and there's a bridge in the photo, in the painting, and there's what looks to be like a lumber mill or something of the sorts on the edge of one of the banks, and you see it's this lumber mill's at the bottom of the hill, and kind of on the top of the hill you see a great big tree, probably like a cherry tree, or maybe even a maple tree of some sorts. It's hard to tell, but underneath the maple tree you see a bronze dragonborn kind of snoozing under a tree.
Hmm.
You separate the next painting from the stack, so to speak, and you see a small, very colorfully dressed short person, maybe a halfling or a gnome, some of the smaller races, and this creature is sleeping with its face down on a table with different inks and paper and parchment in a kind of a dimly lit room, and you can almost feel or see that it is raining, or it has been raining in the photo.
Interesting.
I want to say photo, but I really mean painting. So
Oh, that's fine. Yep. and
You
I
look
peeled the
over.
next one.
Okay, that's all of them that are stuck together on this one.
Oh, okay. So me, uh, bronze dragonborn, and a small race sleeping on a table.
Looks like he was maybe writing or something and fell asleep at the table, kind of idea.
Yeah. Since I had peeled the canvases off the frame, I just start rolling them up instead,
Okay.
and I tuck them in my cart.
Okay.
Go to painting number or canvas number 2 that had Kellerick just drifting off into uh, the uh, the ether.
And you flip it over and look, and there again you see that there's multiple canvases strapped to the same frame.
So I start plucking the pins off, curiously, just
Okay. And you pluck them off, and there's 3 canvases on this one. There is Kelrick in his last state. And as you peel that one away, you see a painting of a relatively attractive looking human, with a kind of evil, dark aura in the background of the painting. You say you think evil because it's just so dark and foreboding, the building that she is standing in front of. And you see that she is hood up and being followed by a kind of a gruff looking human, bigger, stockier, and they're on a pathway heading towards what looks to be a market or something. Give me a wisdom check, or a history check even, maybe, whatever you're proficient in.
sure. I mean, I'm not proficient in history, but I can give you just a straight wisdom check.
Sure. You look at the town, and immediately comes to mind, with a 22, that this is in the old area somewhere of Parnast, you believe.
So nearby-ish.
Yeah. She's wearing like kind of like grays and blues wool clothing, nothing fancy. And she is got kind looking eyes. But she is very much, you kind of get the feeling like she's trapped and looking for a way out.
I'll stare at this one for a little bit and flip to the next one, like the third painting.
You flip to the third painting, and you see a silhouette of what could be a halfling or a dwarf. Maybe a dwarf, because it's so thick and chunky, like it's very stocky. And there are just red eyes coming from the silhouette, and all around it are these hoodless, well, not hoodless, sorry, faceless hoods. And there are probably 40, 50, 80. It's like when one begins, the other one starts and ends, and it's just like almost a huge following of these things. And they're all standing in behind this figure. And you notice that in the bottom of the painting, it was never finished. You just see the white canvas down there.
I won't look at that one very long because it feels weird, and of course it's not finished. So I just start rolling them all up.
Okay. And as you fold them up, you start looking at the frames, and you realize that there are kind of seams on the corners of these frames. Give me a investigation check. You realize that these frames actually fold up.
This is peculiar.
And you kind
Cool.
of push on both of the corners at the same time, like kitty corner, and they fold into a straight stick. And then you can grab that straight stick and you can bend it again, and it folds into a small stick, like a wooden ruler you would have.
I'm looking at it like I'm unsure of what to make of it. I was like, that's convenient. And I'll just tuck it into Calric's backpack.
Okay. And you do so. You finish eating and having a little bit of bite to eat. And what do you wish to do?
Try and follow like the distant second hum a little further.
Okay.
Directly west.
So you keep following your ears, your heart, and you continue walking, and you see on the road further ahead of you kind of a small person walking.
How small?
Well, from this distance, they're really small, but you know, once you get closer, they probably get bigger.
So I keep an eye on them as I walk down with my cart.
As you walk towards this person, you realize that they are. One thing that kind of catches you, kind of peculiar, is that they're heading towards the forest, and B, they don't really have many possessions with them. Like, it looks like they might be just carrying something on their back, unlike you that have a wagon.
I'll wait to speak to them until we get to about maybe like 30 feet apart.
As you get closer to this person, you realize it's a she, judging by the obvious silhouette stereotypes. And they're wearing kind of grays and blue wool clothing. They have a hood up. And you give me Give me a perception check. You can notice they look strangely familiar.
Um, hello, uh, miss? Uh, where are you heading?
Uh, hi.
Hi.
Uh, uh, and she keeps looking down towards your body, sort of thing, and just like you're kind of looking towards her body, and she kind of pulls back her sleeve a little bit, and you can see kind of a rainbow coloring around her wrist.
I will extend my left hand that also has the rainbow band on it.
You see the hood kind of come back on her head a little bit, and her eyes are wide open. And that's where we're going to end tonight.
Sure. Well, look at that.